Hand, Part 1. Dr. Blaine Anderson, hand specialist, plastic surgeon, booby doctor. Surgery about 2 hours after the explosion. Blaine Anderson. When I was called in about patient JK, I got dressed and went straight to work. He was a 22-year-old, healthy, fit male, never smoked, never drank alcohol, so the chances of regrowth were very high. Amputation of the index and middle finger and thumb at the first knuckle may not be necessary. As JK was put under and covered, I was scrubbed in and started surgery. Tendons, nerves, muscles, skin, all shredded and forced off of the bone. Bones at the top of the fingers were shattered. I pieced the bones back like a 3D puzzle, but in the thumb, too many fragments were missing. I put a 1-inch pin down the pointer finger through the knuckle to hold the bone there to heal. Until the pin could be removed on the thumb, the bone would be much too sharp to cover with flesh, but now the pieces had been filed down after it was cut flat. Now the tourniquet on his arm had been taken off, or removed, to provide the skin with as short a blood cutoff as possible, so the nutrients could be present to the tendons, nerves, and muscle. Muscles were put in place, then the skin had to be stretched over and sutured together. The fingernails had been ripped off, and there was little chance of regrowth. I looked over at JK's head, and I saw an eyeball dangling out of his head, some muscles still attached, lots of blood on the eye and inside the socket. Back to stitching the skin to hold each finger back together. It was like sewing wet toilet paper together. I couldn't pull too hard or it would tear, but it was also hard to reach around those fat sausage links. As the fingers were finished, I would spread antibacterial cream on the non-stick gauze to help separate the fingers and bandage. I put an extra pad on each finger to help cushion from bumps, also to help shape the fingers. As I wrapped each finger in hot pink, I smiled. Someone just got blown up by an IED, improvised explosive device, to the chest and hand and face, and didn't know he'd be heading almost straight to jail from his release by the hospital. This was just a double bonus. Got him. Eye, Part 2, Dr. Christian Nilsson, ophthalmologist. There are 6 main muscles that move the eye: up, down, left, right, focus in, focus out. I cut 2 of the muscles, getting an eye out after cleaning with saline. In the CT scan, I could see a metallic substance. It was in his head, front left side. Due to the injury, I could not find the piece of shrapnel. It still looked pretty bad. I'm only guessing, but it seems as though people's eyes are not meant to act as the catcher's mitt for razor-sharp shrapnel traveling at Mach 1. Now, I surgically sutured the entry and the exit wound through the left eye. There was an air pocket inside the eye that had to be drained. The eye socket was cleaned. I found where the shrapnel hit. It did not go through the bone, so it must have been bouncing around in the eye. It hadn't been found. Stitched the impact area as well. Pulled the muscle. I had to cut and suture them as well. Watching Dr. Anderson was amazing. He was in no rush, like he had had the same problem 1,000 times before. Slowly and surely, everything was checked and rechecked. Hands put together and wrapped. It was placed in back where it goes, as the stomach, where it goes. And as the stomach is being finished up, all will be finished soon until the follow-ups. Abdomen, Part 3. Dr. Greg Marshall, CT scans. Organ check. Brain, normal. Heart, normal. Lungs, normal. Spleen, normal. Kidney, normal. Note, absence of left kidney. Right kidney, normal. Liver, punctured with shrapnel inside 10 centimeters. Too risky to recover. High risk of blood loss. Spleen, normal. Testicles, huge. Several pieces of shrapnel discovered in exploratory surgery. All shrapnel pulled out except some shards in the liver. Tools cleaned and put away. Catheter pulled out. Oxygen tube removed. Patient sent to the recovery room to wake up. Waking up. Eye patch on, and my chest and hands were covered and wrapped. Why on earth did they put on pink on my fingers? I doubted they were out of every other color. I had visitors right away. My mom was already there when I woke up. My first visitor was Sister Charlie, one of my neighbors. She brought sandwiches, which I was glad she came. I would see her at church. It was nice to see heroes like this come and visit someone in my unfortunate position. It was heartwarming. Not like hot metal shrapnel heartwarming, but the good kind. When someone is down, you stop your day-to-day and you help them. A member of your team just got blown up. You'd best believe your team is checking on you, verbally or otherwise. I don't remember what we said, but it ended with a nice get well soon. A Safe Haven homeowner came by and brought a stuffed animal, a teddy bear, to squeeze and have with me. I never did the whole teddy bear thing when I was younger, and I was a bit embarrassed to accept it at first. Then she mentioned that it's not like I'm a kid, it's for the kids that have to visit if I have to hug someone when no one is watching. Well, that made more sense. When no one was watching, she gave me a playful smile. A perfect cover story. We have been family friends as far back as I can remember. Her son was my closest friend growing up. He was now serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was gone for about 2 weeks before this all went down. Normally, there was an unwritten rule. He would not let me do things that were too dumb. However, he was gone. I guess all of that power went straight to my head and hand and chest. We went through thick and thin together, camping, shooting, working out of state, earning our Eagle Scout awards together. In short, he kept me out of trouble, and I kept him from being translated to heaven right away. It was great to see her, and the morphine was even better. I had knots in my neck and shoulders that ceased to exist on the stuff. The pain and discomfort was just gone, replaced with perfect mobility and freedom. Why did I wait so long to try this? It's awesome. Then came the bad news. The FBI and the ATF had come to our home and kicked my family out. My mom informed me. For how long? Where are you staying now? At a motel for now. I guess that. Knock, knock. 2 of my old scout leaders came in. Joe, now my bishop, and Rob, now the first counselor. I told them I was probably going to lose my license and what that meant to me. They gave me a good advice. If they ask about what had happened, don't say anything. Next thing I knew, my friends were gone. Bang, bang, bang. Fists slammed on the door. 2 well-dressed men came in. One stated, "I'm Special Agent Taylor Davidson with the FBI, and this is Agent Smiley from the ATF." Both men showed their IDs outside of reach. They looked real enough from where I was sitting. I had never met anyone from the FBI. My first thought was, don't you guys have more important things to do than visit sick kids in the hospital? But I held my tongue. They were well-groomed and had straight white teeth. Taylor recited my Miranda rights, and I asked for an attorney because I was heavily medicated on morphine. He looked at me, my IV drip, as if he just noticed. He gave me a micro smile and asked if he could ask me one question. I thought, you just did. But then he would ask, can I ask you 2 questions? And then I would reply, you just did. But he was respectful, so I said, you can ask. He paused, then asked, are my men in any danger going through your explosives bunker? They looked straight at me. Am I on TV? I was so juiced with morphine, I decided to send a message through Morse code, a system of dots and dashes that can easily be transmitted over many methods used since the mid-1800s. If I'm not mistaken, I blinked out long, short, long, 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 over and over, long, short, long, 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 dash, dot, dash, 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 dot, dash, 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 dot, dash, dash, dash. In other words, no, no, no. I said aloud, don't go through my stuff. I paused for a long while. I can diffuse anything you're worried about, thinking of my mission. He asked, what do you need to diffuse? I shot back, you had your question. It seemed silent for a long time, like a really long time. He looked at me and then at his partner and nodded. They weren't friendly after that. The G-men walked out, but stayed by the door. I told whoever was left in the room not to talk to them, but I had an eye patch over my left eye and couldn't see real well. The cunning feds were finally asked to leave by the medical staff. That was my first experience with the Counterterrorism Task Force. These guys get paid way too much post 9/11/01. Maybe not in salary, but in confiscated resources. My driver was the next guest in. He seemed glad to see me breathing, almost surprised. I asked For the confirmation, oddly, he did not give the safe phrase, so I was on high alert. He said the FBI and bomb squad evacuated his home and the street he lived on. He said, I have to know what was used. I recalled the HMDP or something. For more questions, you'll have to ask me later. I made it clear I was injured and not going to spill my guts for this. I asked for no more guests to see me. I was moved to another room so I could heal without stress from the authorities. My eyeball itched like chickenpox. I was so tired and drained of all energy. Fading into sleep, I was woken up by a head nurse pressuring me to leave. Were they kidding me? Kicked out of a hospital? I must admit this was a new low, even for me. It wasn't even 2 days since the accident. My headache matured, married, and had migraines of its own. I went to the bank to grab some emergency money I had for unseen events, not unlike this. It was only $1,000, but it was something. And we headed to the safe house. No phones, no emails, no spying of any kind. I rested most of the time, but some great meals were brought into me. There was a change of clean clothes rolled up for me. Shirt, pants, matching socks, underwear, t-shirt, and a party shirt. A button up with a collar to go on top, all of which fit me well. Now, this was living, or so it seemed after my stay in the hospital. A bath was poured. I was embarrassed to ask for help undressing, but I had really no choice of the matter. Both my hands were really messed up. I was no longer on morphine, and my arms and hands and chest wanted nothing to do with helping me. I had help with my shirt and managed the rest at a snail's pace. I was cleaned and dressed with the safe housekeeper, tapped the wooden door to come in, making sure I was dressed before entering. She showed me a news article about what was going on, and it physically hurt to hear what they were saying about my friend and me. Basically that they made it sound as if I was a reckless felon playing around with chemicals I didn't understand. In the safe house, I was asked to make a short film before I went to jail for what might possibly be a long time. If I managed to upload it, you, the reader, can see how bad I looked during this part of my life. After I finished the video, there was a race against time to schedule doctor's appointments so I would get the care I needed in time. Due to security reasons and issues, doctor's appointments would have to be changed, but they had to be made. Otherwise, I might not get them at all. I could end up with an infection, loss of sight in my left eye, or even bleed out internally with the razor-sharp shrapnel still lodged in my liver. The thing is, explosives travel the path of least resistance, tears at the weakest point, the weakest links. That's why grenades, like chocolate bars, are formed to break at the weakest link, designed with thinner sections holding them together to allow a cleaner break. Unfortunately, most of the human body is a soft spot where explosives are concerned. If I went to jail before arranging the doctor's appointments, my medical care would be done in-house to lower cost, and they simply weren't equipped to handle razor-sharp, jagged metal fragments stabbing and slashing my insides. I cashed my everyday carry bag to have something to return to. I got a quick follow-up eye exam with a doctor who operated on my eye. When he came in, he apologized for the wait. No rush, I said. After I'm done here, I'm going straight to jail. His eyebrows raised. Really? Unfortunately, yes. No rush whatsoever. He grinned and said, Great. He explained what he had done in the surgery. There was still work to be done because my eye was still too bloody to locate any shrapnel inside. I was prescribed eye drops to help clear it up. I picked up my prescription medication and was to meet my brother at the jail. I told him I couldn't talk much, if at all, in front of the police or sheriff's deputies. I was to meet a Detective Bat or Bird at the Major Crimes Division. I asked to sit down, and I remained silent. Only a few words were spoken. There didn't seem much to say. I said my goodbyes and was handcuffed. My medication was taken away. I was dragged to lockup.